What's up, everybody on YouTube? How's everybody doing? I'm doing just fine. Doing awesome, actually. So today, welcome back to another Blondskunk's Building World episode. And hey, it's been a little bit, as you guys know. This series gets put on the back burner sometimes, but hey, we're back in this world once again. I saw some comments in the last video saying how you guys love this series. It gives you some inspiration, so I'm glad that it does do that for you, and I'm happy to be making it for you whenever I can. Of course, I got other projects going on, but hey, we're here either way. But guys, I've done a little bit of progress in this world. Not much that's going to be, you know, wow, wow, you did so much progress. It's amazing. No, we are still working very slowly on this kingdom, but, you know, nevertheless, we are getting along with it. Now, my main objective for today's episode is to finish the finish the castle. I say finish the castle, but we are going to be making some good amount of progress on the castle because I was streaming this a little bit, and I said to my stream, I said, hey guys, this castle has been sitting here for months. It's been for a couple months, and I haven't done much work on it until now. This wall here, I started to get some wall designs down for it, and I think I've come up with something that I like a lot. I think I like this a lot. So we got something very simple, yet it works very effectively. Now, what I was trying to do before on stream, I was, you know, kind of messing around. I was doing some crazy shenanigans. I was trying to like add some crazy, you know, detail and depth and everything. And to me, everything I did just didn't look good. So I went with something very simple. All I did was I added some little cross beams just to break up the verticalness. Well, the what is this? Vertical? Yeah, it's vertical. For the verticalness of it. I think I know what I'm talking about. The verticalness of it, break up the verticalness, and so I added some horizontal beams going from here to there, and also added this nice colorful banner to break up the brown, the brown and gray that's going on here. That's just a very basic, you know, kind of color, so it just breaks up that wall, and I think we're gonna have a lot of that going on. Similar to what we did with the roofs, they break up and add a little bit of color. So it looks really, really nice. So right here, we got another design. So this is a 4-block wall design. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. It has a gap of that, and then it's six in total if you include the pillars. So here what we're doing is we're adding a little bit of some archways because there's not many of these 4-block gap walls. So I wanted to add a bunch of these little archways. We're going to do the same thing over here, copy and paste it over here. And you can see, you know, we're going to have some different wall designs over here, but it's going to be pretty much the same thing over here. Right here, this will be a 4-block gap, similar to the one over there. And this one will be the same as what you saw in the front. So there's just a lot of copy and pasting, but I plan on making a lot of progress on this castle and trying to just exteriorify it. I don't know if that's a word, but we're going to make it happen. So let's get to work on this bad boy. Alright guys, so already getting a lot of progress done on the castle so far. This little building right here is pretty much complete as it is. So not a lot more details that I got to do. I just got to do the inside. And for those of you that don't know what this building is, it's basically the guild house building, the meeting building for all the guilds. And it sits right above the guild district right over here. I thought it fit kind of perfectly. So as you can see, as we get the details done on this castle, you can start to see it coming along and start to take a little bit more shape than just the framework, right? So we got all this going here, but now this building is pretty much complete on the outside. We head on the inside here. You can see we got this nice little staircase that leads up. I absolutely love how this turned out. So this little staircase right here leads up into this building, and this is actually how you'll be able to get into this building. And again, there is no interior just yet, but soon we will focus on that eventually because the interior is going to be a project in itself. So first things first, we got to get done all the exterior work. But for the rest of this episode, I thought I would kind of just work on this top part right here, the topping of the cake, and just talk about just how I go about building castles, because I know a lot of you are interested in how I do it, and you know, it's just a little bit challenging, right, for some people to figure out like what shape do I want, how do I go about building a castle. And you know, once you got a few techniques down, once you got a few things that you can kind of base your castles off of, really, castle building is simple. It's not too hard, and there's many different ways of going about building castles. What I typically like to do, and what I do a lot when I'm building castles, is start with a framework. So as you can see over here, we have this stone brick framework. This is a generalization on how my castle is going to go. So this build was totally outlined with stone brick. There's some little bit of detail just to kind of mark off. You can see here, we have some andesite railings. Now that could be changed. It's not permanent. That can change, you know, anything could change with this framework as I start putting into the details. Then what I'll do is, you'll see here, I'll start adding more on. I'll start, you know, adding more stone brick, adding, you know, the background. So as you can see here, the main difference between these two buildings is I'm going to now put in the cobblestone and andesite that goes within the framework. So you can see over here, I'll put that in, and then I'll start shaping it. I'll start making the shape. So I start making the shape of it, start, you know, making it, you know, the edges a little bit smoother, as smooth as possible. And then what I'll start doing is I'll start detailing it, like you see over here. So this is would be the final product of what would come from doing it my way. You start mixing in different blocks, you start mixing in polished andesite, you start mixing in some different types of wood blocks, and just adding a bunch of little details with fences and buttons and trap doors and etc. Popping in windows wherever you can, and then you get something like this. So we start with something like that, and it ends up with something like this. So that is how I go about doing different things. But for this top piece here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start just kind of figuring out the shape for this. So I can start doing stuff like this, just adding little, you know, bits that hang off and hang down. I can do things like this to kind of make it look a little bit more castle-y like, more fortified. But this castle is somewhat in between an elegant style and just a little bit defensive. Not too much defensive, because it's mainly for decorative and to show off the wealth of the capital. Because a lot more after this kingdom became the capital kingdom, it gained a lot more wealth, and so it was basically, you know, it started to add on more onto the castle, is basically how it went. So it started off with a defensive purpose, but then they started to add on more decorative pieces to make it more pleasing to the people of the kingdom. Now, you can totally go a different direction with your castle, and sometimes it's good to have a little bit of a story when building a castle too, because that can help decide where things are going to go, what you want to do. There's a lot of things that you can do, and you know, that's one great way to start when building a castle, is just to figure out, hey, what is the story behind this castle? How did this castle come about? You know, it just wasn't randomly here one day, you know what I mean? So what is the backstory? And, you know, that can really define a castle. And you think of like a castle being in ruins, well, you're still building a castle, but you're telling a story at the same time. Why is this castle ruined? Why, you know, has it been around for a long time? You know, so there's different ways of going about building a castle. Now, I'm not saying you always have to have a story with every build that you do, because that would be kind of ridiculous. So you don't want to always do that, because it'd be too much stress on it. It's like, oh, I got to think of a story, and then I got to build the build. You know, just build, but also try to have fun with it. Try to think of, like, you know, why was this castle here? You know what I mean? Because that could also be really fun. You don't have to do it every time. I'm just saying, like, from time to time, it might help you in creative decisions, but not all the time. So just make sure that you know, think of it as you go, or just say, hey, I'm just gonna build this castle and then see how it goes. And there's many different ways of going about building a castle. What I like to do too is world edit helps a lot. As you've seen with this world, it's helped a lot. There's no way I would have been able to do this without world edit. I mean, I would have, but it would have taken a long time. So it's very important that you consider world edit in a tool, a creative tool that you use with your builds, because it's very important. and it does help a lot. So make sure that world edit is an open option. Don't close it off as like a cheating thing, because I know some people, they think, I want to do it block by block. I want to do it in survival. But there's always an option of doing it with world edit too. So don't be afraid to use world edit, and don't think of it as like this cheaty thing. It is not. It helps a lot with speeding up the process of a build and creative decision making. You'll hear me say that a lot, because that's a big part of making a build, is just making them creative decisions and changing things, undoing things. So just make sure that, again, world edit is an open option for you and your world. Now, obviously, if you're doing it in survival, you probably wouldn't want to use world edit, right? It's not going to work out too well. But just keeping in mind what is the possibility. What's the possibilities of a world with in creative. So again, just keeping that option open, very important. All right, so more onto this castle. So with this castle, I was really like, okay, I'm thinking in my head, I want this to be the biggest castle I've ever built. Now, that's not always the best mindset to go about doing things, but the best mindset in building a building, because what happens then is you then become overwhelmed. And I know that for a fact. You can become overwhelmed with the amount that you have to do, and that's never good. You don't want to stress yourself out with building too much, because that's never good, right? It's not a good feeling in the long run. Build out real quick, figure this side out. Normally I would copy and paste this, but I'm thinking this just has to go down by a little bit, just like that. Beautiful. So just that, and you go in the middle. And and don't be afraid to test things either. Don't be afraid to test different things out, test different building styles even, because that can help free up your mindset of building. Trying out castles, trying out your own creative ways of building a castle. Not every castle has to be the same. It's very important to remember that. You don't want to try and copy somebody else's castle, because you want it to be your own, right? So try different things, try figuring out things. It doesn't have to be incredibly detailed. It doesn't have to be the best thing you've ever built. Don't put yourself up to that title. Make it easy on yourself. Make sure you're starting easy and starting slow, and then start to challenge yourself a little bit. So when I build these castles, I tend to I tend to do too much sometimes. I tend to put myself in a spot to where I'm challenging myself a little bit too much, which is not good. You don't want to do that. So just make sure to keep in mind that, hey, let's start simple, then work our way up to building more difficult and more challenging things, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself with just the different, ways of building and all that stuff. And it's not worth it, really. But yeah. But trust me, castles, when it comes to it, when it all comes down to it, building a castle is pretty simplistic. Not incredibly difficult or anything like that. So give it a shot, try it out. And again, you don't have to build a castle like the best castle builder ever. You just gotta keep at it, work with it, create your own thing, and do your best. That's what matters. And do what you like. Build what you like. It's very important to make sure that you like it and that the build is appealing to you. Because after all, you're going to be the one that's staring at it the whole time. You're going to be the one that's looking at it and being like, huh. So make sure that you like it and all that stuff. So sometimes, yeah. Now this castle, for those of you that might not know, this isn't the first time I built this castle in this world. this is not the first time. I actually tore down this whole project, this whole build initially. Not this build specifically. It was a different kind of castle, different style I was going for, but I tore it down. I tore down the whole build because I didn't really like it. I didn't like it. And you shouldn't be ashamed of that. You shouldn't be ashamed because, and I wasn't, you know what I mean? I was not ashamed of tearing down a whole build to rebuild it, to redo it, because that will happen. That will happen. Do not let that demotivate you. Let it be a motivator, because you're going to tear down a plentiful amount of builds when building castles, or when building builds in general. You're gonna feel if that they're not good enough, and you're gonna redo them. Trust me, I've been there. I've done it 1,000,001 times, and I could safely say that is definitely gonna happen. And you figure out what better can I do? What's the better options? You know. So that's just one little tip I would give. You know, if you're thinking about tearing down a build, you probably should go with that decision if you're even thinking that. Because I did, and I'm very happy that I did, because I came up with something much better. Much better. I feel it's much better. Some of you might not think it's better. You might think it's not too great. But again, you got to go with what you feel. What you feel as the builder. Because that's what's going to matter. You're going to be the one that's looking at it. You're going to be the one that's judging it every single day you look at it. And you don't want to be judging the same decision over and over and over again. You want to make sure that this decision is final and you like it, and it's your build and your creation. Man, I don't even know what I just rambled out in that whole spiel, but I think I said something. I think I said a bunch of things, and I think they made sense. Hopefully that all made sense, guys. Hopefully that all made sense. I love talking about building. I do. I know a lot. I like to feel like I know a lot about building. Maybe I don't. But if you guys have any building tips, any building suggestions, if you build castles, how do you go about building a Minecraft castle? What is the first thing you think of when building a Minecraft castle? Do you think of the layout? Do you start doing framework right away? How do you build castles? That's all I want to know. I want to know what is the process, the creative mindset that you guys go through, you know? But yeah, guys, that looks awesome. That looks awesome. I love that. I love that. I love the way that looks. You guys will have to let me know what you guys think in the comments below of this as well. And also let me know how you go about building castles. I think this looks really, really cool and really epic. So, yeah, this is coming along. I'm very happy with how this is turning out. There's still a lot more work to do, but we're making progress, and that's the big thing. You know, you finish one thing a day on a big project like this, you got to feel some sort of accomplishment, and that's the key thing when building these big builds. If you guys are ever interested in building these big builds, take them one step at a time. Don't think of it as a big project. Think of it as, okay, I'm going to finish the top part of that, and I'm also going to finish this. That was my plan for today, and I did that. Now I feel like I got something done. So make sure you're thinking of that when building these big builds. I'm not even thinking about the rest of this kingdom. I'm thinking about this castle, and I'm thinking about this part of the castle, and that is it. So yeah, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I know I did a big ramble there, but you know what? I like doing that. I like talking to you guys. I like getting your opinions. I like talking to you face to face, one-on-one. You know what I mean? Getting your opinion and all that stuff. So yeah, let me know how you like this episode. Drop a like on it if you did like it, and please do subscribe for future episodes of the Blondskunk Building World and plentiful amount of other series on the channel. Okay, yeah, guys, that's gonna do it. As always, don't forget to be awesome, and I will see you guys next time.